Hey guys, JamesMCD Reviews here. Welcome to another eye-popping episode of JamesMCD's Friday Nightmare. And today we're going to be entering a whole new dimension of terror as we take a look at Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. Released in 1982 and once again directed by Steve Miner. This is again another case in which a group of teenagers go on a vacation to a cabin in the woods and all get picked off, but this is the point in the series where we are finally at the hands of Jason as the main killer of the series. We are no longer in Pamela Voorhees, like weird like pillow mask Jason. We are here with full Jason Voorhees, the iconic look that he finally has. He finally gets the hockey mask that he's so well known for. I guess character arcs in this movie center around this one girl who had an encounter with Jason and was traumatized by it and is sort of trying to get over her trauma with her friends. And then the other one is this curly-haired overweight guy who is kind of the funny guy, but he has kind of an awkward sense of humor, basically trying to get this group of people to like him. Those are the closest things to an actual plot in this movie. The rest is just kind of your typical Friday the 13th like fare. It's another group of kids like in the woods, like getting picked off one by one. The only difference this time is, like I said, we finally have a face to put to those killings, both figuratively and literally. One thing I forgot to bring up in the last video is I am kind of split on the fact that they show Jason's face, and I don't know if this becomes a staple later on, but one of the things that I kind of like about the Halloween movies is that we don't really see much of Michael Myers' face. It's always kept in shadow, just out of view, or it's shown in like extreme close-up where it's really hard to like make out. So it makes him feel like a little bit more intimidating and more of like a monster. Whereas here, it's just kind of a guy with a lot of like monster makeup on, with a mask over his face, which I don't think is nearly as interesting. Everything else about the movie is just kind of standard and boring. Not a whole lot happens. The only other thing that I honestly have to talk about is the 3D aspect of it. And I'm sure with like an actual like 3D setup, the movie probably looks fine, but without it, the movie kind of looks terrible. Not terrible in that it's like blurry and like out of focus and things like that. And on top of that, the DVD kind of tricked me because what I was expecting, because it does give you the option to play it in either 2D or 3D, but what I didn't realize, when it said play it in 3D, I thought that it was going to be sort of that like cheesy like red and blue filter type of 3D, but no, it was actually it was like actually converted for like proper 3D TVs and Blu-ray players and things like that, which I don't have either of those things, so I was just basically watching the movie in 2D essentially. And also, when the movie is doing 3D, it's doing it like it's a theme park attraction essentially. Like with modern day 3D movies, they play with sort of the depth of field and make things feel closer, and they play around with the colors and the contrast and everything like that. Whereas here, it literally just feels like a Universal attraction where like you'll have like random stretches of like, I'm trying to find an example. So like all of a sudden you'll be sweeping and then the broom handle will be like pointing out at the screen and it'll supposed to shock you, or like there's one moment where like a snake jumps out at you. There's a scene where like the people are having like a juggling contest, and it shows like an overhead shot of like the apples flying up and stuff like that. It's literally just a gimmick, which is kind of weird considering how for a lot of the movie it felt like they forgot about the gimmick. Like, there are long stretches where nothing is popping out of the screen, nothing is like jumping out at you, and you're just kind of watching a regular horror movie. And again, I'm sure like in a theater with like proper 3D effects and glasses and everything, I'm sure that like the immersion is a little bit better because like you're just kind of sat there with your glasses on waiting for stuff to happen. But when you're just watching it at home and you don't have that same sort of immersion, it just kind of feels like, oh, you're watching a horror movie, and every so often like something will like pop out at you, will look like it's popping out at you. But yeah, other than that, the movie was just kind of like, it really just feels like something that is sold on the gimmick alone. And you know, granted, like, if you're invested in the story, which admittedly there's not a whole lot here yet, but if you're invested in the story, then it gives you a lot of firsts. It definitely like brings Jason more to the forefront, and it gives him his like iconic look and everything. But beyond that, it's just kind of more of the same. So going to my ranking, I would have to give this a 2.5 out of 5. Anyway, that does it for another episode of The Friday Nightmare. Let me know in the comments what you thought of Friday the 13th Part 3. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you watch it with a proper 3D setup? And how does it look when it actually looks like how it's supposed to? This is actually one where I would kind of like to see them re-release it in 3D in theaters, so you could like get that sort of proper immersion. I think it'd be fun. But yeah, stay tuned because tomorrow I'll be taking a look at Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Yeah, sure. Until then, be sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you can stay up to date on when I'm posting. Follow me on my social media, subscribe to my main channel. Everything you need to know will be in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later.